Okay. Well, thank you, Allison, and thank you all for coming. I hope that my intent most of the time when I speak is that if everybody takes away one or two things, either new things that you learned this evening or just reinforces what you already know, then we'll call it a success. I am a registered nurse. I have a bachelor's degree in nursing from SIU Edwardsville. 38 years ago, I graduated, so I was only 12 when I started. And then for my certified care management, I did have to do 120 hours. I did that through the University of Florida. And what that then allows you to do is understand a lot of things as far as, well, it makes you just enough to be dangerous, really, because you learn some legal things, planning things, federal resources, state resources, things like that, as well as some more information on chronic diseases and management of those. And then my last title, Certified Dementia Practitioner, that is also, you have to do some additional training to get that certification. I don't tell people that I'm an expert at anything, but I do feel like I'm an expert at finding new answers. Even if I don't have them, we can find resources. Okay? So one of the title of what we're going to talk about today is why are they doing that? That is the most common question that I get from family members when they have a loved one that has dementia. So that's what I have started talking on. So if that's what everybody has a question about, why don't we get some answers? So what do you think it's like to have dementia? Frustrating. Frustrating. You forget everything. Confusing.
Scary.
Very scary. I liken it to something that I think we've all experienced. You know that dream that you have, and it wakes you up, and a lot of times you don't even remember all the details of the dream, but your heart is racing, and your palms are sweaty, and it startles you awake, and you're just so confused for a few seconds, and that sense of relief that you have when you recenter yourself and you realize, oh, that was a dream. I'm okay. Everything's going to be fine. I feel like that's what it's like to have dementia. Except many times people with dementia can't recenter themselves. They can't bring themselves back to that feeling of, I'm safe, my loved ones are safe, it's okay. So even though we may not have experienced, full dementia, I think we all have had that kind of experience. And when I'm working with my patients with dementia, I feel like that's what they're going through. Some of them go through that multiple times throughout the day. So that's kind of what I think it might be like. Something that we can all relate to. So first question. Dementia. Is this another name for Alzheimer's disease? That's correct. That is a false statement. How many different types of dementia do you think there might be? Well, and they're not all listed on your handout. and future, some of the future presenters in this series are going to hit on some more of that. They are saying now there may be as many as 150 different types of brain changes exhibiting themselves as dementia. So, how about this one? Memory loss is the first sign of dementia.
Oh, we'll forget now.
Well, there's different degrees, and there is a little bit of age-related memory loss that's not necessarily dementia. But the answer to this one is also false. Memory loss is the first symptom, the first sign that a lot of times family members notice. They notice that they show up at Grandma's house for Thanksgiving dinner, the same Thanksgiving dinner that she's cooked for 40 plus years, and everybody's happy and they're putting everything out on the table, and they go get the turkey out of the oven and oh my gosh, the turkey is still in the refrigerator. Grandma forgot the turkey. The first symptom of dementia is the inability to stay on task, to stay organized, to get things done. Normal, everyday things done. So they being some experts somewhere along the line, have decided that a simple task like brushing your teeth, there's 25 steps to that simple task. So how many steps are there to fixing Thanksgiving dinner? Millions, probably, all the way from planning to shopping to what you do first, right? So when it looks like Grandma forgot the turkey, it's because she can't stay organized and stay on task to get all those things done. So many of you have probably seen something like this. These are slides that show us what the normal brain looks like, and that's these on this side here. This is a normal brain. This on this side is an abnormal brain. All of the changes that you see here are from different types of dementia. Okay? So almost everything we do, every action that we do, every sensation that we feel starts in the brain. Or at least it's the brain that tells us what to do. So our brain is made up of little cells, little neurons, and the neurons have to talk to each other, and they create brain waves, and the brain waves just bounce all over this healthy brain. They go out through the spinal cord, and we say something and we do something. That's what happens in a healthy brain. When we have a brain that looks like this, and we've got all kinds of holes and actually atrophy of the brain, what do you think happens to those brain waves?
You get lost.
They get lost. That's right. So that's why we can't do things that we've done most of our life. We forget how to make a meal. We forget how to brush our teeth. We look at this wonderful plate of food that someone sat down in front of us and we can't figure out how to eat it. We pick up our jeans off the bed in the morning and we're going to get dressed. And we're trying to put our feet in this side, through the leg rather than through the waist like we're supposed to do. It's because your brain gets lost. All those brain waves that tell you how to do that, they get lost. And that's why we see the different symptoms called dementia. So, different areas of the brain control different things. And when we have brain changes in the different areas of the brain, is when we have trouble. Okay? So, everybody thinks that because Uncle Joe had Alzheimer's, Uncle Joe had dementia, and this is the way he acted. When our neighbor has dementia, well, what's wrong with him? He has dementia too, but he doesn't act anything like Uncle Joe did. My mom had dementia, and she never did that. Why? They never did that before. The preacher's wife never would have said a curse word. And now, that's what's flowing out of her mouth. Right? Why are they doing that? Why are they doing that? It's because different areas of the brain control different things, and when different areas of the brain have trouble, we start acting differently. Okay? So, you do have this in your handout, and it talks about what these different areas of the brain do, and so that you don't have to take notes, that's in your handout. But what I'm going to do now, rather than me stand up here and explain all the different areas of the brain, I've got a short little video by a lady called Tifa Snow. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of Tifa Snow before. I've had the privilege of actually listening to her in person a couple of different times at continuing education conferences that I went to. She is an occupational therapist by trade. She's very dynamic. She's very eclectic. She's just full of life, and she sees things from a lot of different perspectives. She has spent most of her career working with individuals with dementia and their family members, helping them understand brain changes. So I am, if we keep our fingers crossed, going to play this video by Tika, and I want you just to listen, and she does a really, really good job. She's going to tell us about the different areas of the brain.
But it's much more than that. The brain's actually going through physical changes, and all parts of the brain are affected. Knowing the ways the brain is affected will help you understand why your loved one's behavior has changed and the best ways you can provide care.
Can you all hear that?
So as a family member, you need to understand how your brain works a little bit. What's where and what does it do and what doesn't it do when someone has dementia. So I'm going to give you the most common scenarios. We're going to start on the brain tour. Let's start with the front. The front of your brain is the part of your brain that says, behave yourself. It's your executive control center. It's the part of you that lets you be the person you want to be and to see it from another person's point of view, to make good choices and decisions, to start, to stop, to multitask. With dementia, this is an area of the brain that frequently is hit and hit hard. They still want your respect, but they're not good at decision making. They're not good at seeing it from your point of view. They don't understand what they can't do, and they say whatever comes to mind because on the inside of your brain up there is the part of your brain, deep inside the brain, impulses. The impulse to do what you want, say what you want. The impulse to drink, to eat, to behave yourself in a bad way. We all have those impulses. What we do is we control them with the front of our brain. But when dementia happens, things slip through. It's not intentional, it's just the way it is. The second part of your brain I want to focus on, temporal lobes. Now the temporal lobes is where your language control centers are. But both sides are not the same. And Alzheimer's particularly, and many of the frontal temporal dementias, attack the left side more than the right. And the left side, for a large portion of the population, 98% or better, is where you have formal language skills. Definitions of words, comprehension of speech, the ability to physically produce speech, and your ability to find the word you're looking for, to say what you think, what you remember, what you want. This side is the side that gets hit. Over here on the right, preserved. These are things that they tend to keep better. Number one, automatic social chit-chat. Number two, anything with rhythm and music, including singing, even late in the disease, but prayer and games that involve rhythm. And they understand the rhythm of the question when they don't understand the content. And finally, forbidden words. Swear words, sex talk, racial slur, ugly words. Unfortunately, preserved. And when this isn't available and this isn't working, you hear things you would never have heard from this person. It shocks you. It's not them, it's the disease. Now let's go deep inside. And this is the one that everybody sort of knows about. Take your fingers, put them to your temples, and if you were to shove in 3/4 of an inch, you hit exactly where learning and memory takes place in your brain, the hippocampal area, one on either side. It's very vulnerable, and for many dementias, it's the first indication of a problem. But it's not all memory. At first, what you'll notice, they can't hold on to new stuff, new details. What they can learn is new emotional memory, whether they like it or not, but they don't remember why. And then you start to notice problems with recent stuff. But the old stuff is fine, and of course they're talking about it a lot because that's what they're most comfortable with. New stuff gone. And then you start to notice they're time traveling. They're getting lost in their life. They're actually thinking they're in another place in time, and they have those momentary lapses, and then it becomes a pattern. And then they get lost in tasks, and then they get lost in a moment. And it's not on purpose. It's this part of the brain dying. Now let's look at another part. back in the back. Let's skip to that because this is a real critical part, and for most dementias, it's affected early on as well. It's where vision is stored. And you don't lose your ability to see, but there are some very common changes. One of the first things is you have trouble with peripheral awareness. Your brain can't handle all the incoming data, and so it makes a decision. We have central vision, which gives you the detail, the specifics, gets you to be able to do things, and peripheral, which makes you aware of incoming. So what your brain says, the middle's more important. Start to ignore the edges. And their awareness of the world around them gets smaller and smaller. But there are other things that take place as well. Our ability to hook up what we see with what we know and remember. So how do I know that a cup is a cup? How do I know what's in a cup? And how do I know that if I'm thirsty, what I should look for is a cup? That hooks my visual center to my language center to my frontal lobe. And when these systems are failing, what we find is I look at a cup and I dump it on the floor even though I'm very thirsty and I don't realize what I've just done. As a caregiver, you get very frustrated if you don't understand what's happening is a change in the visual field. And what that means is I pick up a comb and try to brush my teeth. I might pick up a razor and try to comb my hair. You as a caregiver need to be aware these changes are happening, and I'm not doing this on purpose either. This is brain failure. Now, the final part of the brain I want to spend a little time on is a part that we rarely talk about with dementia, which is sensation, and then in the front of it, movement. You feel things happening all over your body, and it comes up through your spine and lands on the surface of your brain. So you know what's going on from the bottom of your feet to the top of your head. You didn't realize that. You just thought it was happening. No, it has to be taken in and processed so you can do something about it. This strip, the one in front, is what controls all the muscles. You control every muscle in your body from your brain. So that connection between sensation and movement, you feel a sensation, you do a movement. As this disease progresses, that wiring, that connection between what you feel and what you do about it is destroyed. And so I can sit and develop a pressure sore. I can try to get up and not realize I need to have my feet down. I don't know. Not because I'm not trying, but because my brain's done. And finally, be aware with this increasing changes in the sensory strip. There are some parts of my body that I may actually be much more sensitive in, and other parts where I have hardly any awareness at all. This will be the 4 areas where you see a lot of the sensory awareness: lips, tongue, and mouth, palms of the hands and the fingertips, soles of the feet, and genitalia. So how many care tasks take place in those areas? Huge numbers. And if as a caregiver you don't understand, I may not be aware of the scrape on my arm, but when you try to help me brush my teeth, what you're getting is a hypersensitive sensory response. The better you understand this, the more you can help effectively by visual, verbal, touch. Cues matter, and the sequence matters. We'll talk about that later.
Makes sense? A little bit? Kind of pull things together? Again, the key is different areas of the brain control different things. So when something is going on in the different areas of the brain, you're going to see different things outwardly. So not only are there maybe up to 150 different types of brain changes, those brain changes are happening in different areas of the brain. So that's why Uncle Joe with dementia acts much differently than my neighbor who also has dementia. What type is it? What part of the brain is affected? So far, so good. I never know with this technology where it's going to take me. So, any questions? A lot to take in, a lot to understand. That's why I gave them a little cheat sheet. But any specific questions about the different areas of the brain? Another thing that she said, and that people struggle with grasping that, is a lot of us as we get older, we've had some vision changes. Our eyes aren't working as good as they used to be. Our ears aren't working as good as they used to be. So when someone doesn't hear what we're saying, they don't answer us. If they're tripping over things that are right there, and we can't figure out why they can't see them, it's not so much that their eyes can't see or that their ears can't hear, it's that the brain cannot process what the eyes are seeing and what the ears are hearing. Okay, so it's a processing problem. Kind of like in computers. They just won't do what I want them to do sometimes, right? So this one, dementia can be fatal. And that's true. So all of the dementias are progressive diseases. These brain changes will continue to happen. Sometimes the brain changes have started happening 10, 15, maybe 20 years before any outward symptoms actually show up. The brain is a God-created thing that none of us can ever duplicate. And in our somewhat healthy brains, we're only using about 25% of it. So we can have a whole lot of brain changes going on before a lot of outward symptoms start to show up. Okay? They say 1 in 3 seniors, 1 in 3 people that are senior citizens that die have dementia. Maybe it's early on, maybe it's a little more progressed. They're saying if you live to be 85, 50% of us will have dementia. So 1 in 3 seniors die with dementia. That doesn't mean that that was their cause of death. If they have a vascular dementia, which is caused by vascular issues, arteries, veins, circulation type things. So when we think about that, we think of heart disease, heart attacks, aneurysms, and strokes. So if they've had that in the past, they may have another one, and pass away from that. They may fall and break a hip and have complications from that. They may, if they've had cancer in the past, that cancer may, come back. They may die from pneumonia or some other type of infection. So even though 1 in 3 seniors dies with dementia, doesn't mean that it was late stage dementia and that was their cause of death. They may actually die from something else. Alzheimer's and other dementias affect nearly half of the persons age 85 and older. Well, I just gave you the answer to that. Who is paying attention? Right? So, people say, well, gosh, seems like everybody has dementia anymore. There's a whole lot of us don't live to 85 or older anymore, where, 15, 20 years ago, that was not so much the case. What do you think is the biggest risk factor for developing dementia? Number 1, biggest risk factor. This right here, age. The older you get, the more likely. That doesn't mean that everybody is going to get it, but we have a whole bunch of people living to be 85 and older anymore. We have a bunch of people living to be 100. My mother is 93, and she still talks about the old people, and she's not one of them. So, she lives long, still drives a riding lawnmower, still mows her own lawn. Not very good, but, she does it. High blood pressure, heart disease, and diabetes are risk factors for dementia. What do you think about that one? That is true. And if you look on your sheets, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that because I think our folks from the Alzheimer's Association is going to talk a little bit more about the different types of dementia, but I do have some of the more common ones listed on your sheet. Vascular dementia, again, it is very, very, very common. The experts are saying that Alzheimer's disease is caused by something called plaques and tangles in our brain, which those act as brick walls. When those brain waves are trying to get out through the brain and they run into a plaque or tangle, it's like a brick wall, they can't get out. Vascular dementia is quoted to be the second most common type of dementia. If I had enough money, initials under my name and time, I think I would say that vascular dementia is the most common. How many people do you know struggle with high cholesterol, high blood pressure, don't keep their blood sugars under control, poor circulation in their feet, trouble with their carotid arteries? A whole bunch of people. So what you need to remember about that is what's good for your heart is good for your brain. So take care of your heart, keep your blood pressure under control, keep your blood sugar where it needs to be, keep your cholesterol down. You're not only doing your heart a favor, you're doing your brain a big favor. Okay? There's a simple test to diagnose and differentiate the dementias. It's false. We do differentiate, we do diagnose, just like every other disease that you have. You go in with some symptoms, you have a full exam including blood work, because a whole lot of things mimic dementia. The two things that really, really mimic dementia and can escalate symptoms, depression and anxiety. So, just like any other disease, you figure out what's wrong. So, if you're depressed, if you have anxiety, let's treat those things. If your blood sugar is out of control, what do we need to get that where it needs to be? Thyroid problems. Thyroid throws everything off. Chronic infections throws everything off. Poor nutrition. Anemia. Your blood count is low because we need good healthy blood circulating through our body because the blood carries oxygen to all of our cells. So if we don't have good healthy blood cells that can grab onto the oxygen and feed our cells, we're going to lose some. Cells in our body are going to die. Certain organs, most organs in our body, if they're injured, they lose cells. You know, if you cut yourself, if you have surgery, you heal because most organs make new cells. Some organs do not. Once you lose cells in certain organs, you don't get them back. So the optic nerve, spinal cord, heart, muscle, brain cells. Every time we lose a brain cell, it's gone. And it's gone. Right? So we have to be healthy. We have to have good vessels in our body to circulate good, healthy blood so that we have feeding oxygen. So, what have we learned so far today? People with dementia are unique individuals and should be treated with respect. Okay? Again, why are they doing what they're doing? Their brains aren't working. I don't know if you caught on to it, but Tika said a couple of times in the video, their brains are dying. So about 12 or 13 years ago, the first time I heard her speak, she was one of the first healthcare professionals that I heard actually say, their brains are dying. And when I heard that the first time, I kind of went, oh, that's so final. But it's true. Their brains are dying. And when I started working more and more with individuals with dementia and families to help them understand, because they couldn't understand. They can't understand. Why don't they remember? I just told them that 5 minutes ago. I was here yesterday. They don't know who I am. Why are they doing that? their brains are dying. Doesn't mean they're dead. It means their brains are not working. And so we need to respect and remember what they can do. That's one of the other things. Families come to me and individuals come to me and they say, I can't do this anymore. Dad can't do that anymore for himself. He can't do that anymore for himself. I have to do this for my husband because he can't do that anymore. Let's focus on what they can do. Let's turn that over. Well, what can they do? Let's focus on what they can do. People with dementia experience the world differently than we do. Why is that? That our brains aren't working right anymore. People with dementia do best in a caring, supporting environment. I spend a lot of time on education. One of the things that I do with the Willowbrook staff is they spend 4 hours with me just on the brain and how to communicate and how to deal with residents that are having behaviors. Number one, we have to look at the behavior. Well, is it bothering anyone? Is it hurting them or someone else? If it's not, then we need to learn to go with the flow. You know, if somebody wakes up 3 a.m. on a Tuesday morning and they insist it's Sunday morning and we got to get up and go to church, guess what we get to do? We get up and we get ready. And it's still dark outside, so our ride's not here, so let's have a little breakfast. And usually by then they're tuckered out already and they just want to take a little nap in the recliner. And when they wake back up, it's Tuesday again. Or they can fight all night long with this little person and try to get them to remember it's Tuesday, it's not Sunday. Doesn't hurt for them to think it's Sunday. If they want to get up, let's get up. Not a problem, right? Dementia has many different types, symptoms, and stages. So again, it's not like the light bulb is on today and it's going to be off tomorrow. Depending on, even if 2 people the same age are diagnosed with the same type of dementia at about the same time, they're still going to be different. They're still going to act different. Because guess what? There are no 2 people in this room that are the same. You don't react the same way that I do to things. You don't like the same foods that I like. You probably don't all like the same music. I'm a Cardinal fan. How many Cub fans we got in here? You know? I come from a split family. We've got Cardinals and Cubs, and tonight, oh my goodness, we got the Bears and the Packers on. Oh, it's chaos around my house. So, you know, we're all different. We're all different in our somewhat normal brains. So that's why we need to know and understand each of us as an individual if and when we're affected with dementia. $1 million question. What can we do to keep our brains healthy? Number 1 is recognize your risks. So, a couple of things we probably don't want to change a whole lot about. The first one is age. You know, the alternative to that is it's not young, right? There's a song like that now. So if we're going to be living longer, let's take better care of ourselves, right? The other thing, some of the dementias are very genetically linked. So a lot of genetic testing going on right now. APOE, that is the gene. You know, they say if you have that gene, your chances for getting dementia are extremely high. The younger onset types of dementia, so a frontal temporal lobe dementia or a true early onset Alzheimer's disease, so those individuals diagnosed with dementia age 60 or younger, those are very highly genetically linked types of dementia. So what that means is for their first-line descendants, for children of individuals that have those early onset dementias, their children are extremely high risk. for developing. But that's another question I get. Grandpa had it, Dad had it, am I going to have it? Well, how old were they when they developed it? The later onset dementias, again, still some family connections, but most of those are also linked to other health issues and lifestyle. Keep your mind and your body active. We've had a couple conversations about that before the program began. Try new things. Be lifelong learners. Yes.
I'm guessing that any cardio type exercise, walking, jogging, are good. But I've read someplace where lifting weights, some studies have related that to, helping prevent dementia, like barbells or machines. Have you heard
And
that?
it resistance types
Yeah.
exercises, and that all goes down to the physiology of what's going on with your body when you're doing that. Because remember, your heart is a muscle. So anytime you're strengthening our core, which is what you're doing a lot of times with weightlifting, you're strengthening all the muscles supporting your heart. So what do you think that's doing? It's strengthening your heart, which is increasing your circulation. And when you are doing any type of exercise, be it the cardio or the weightlifting, you are expanding your lungs and you are breathing deep and you are filling your blood with oxygen. And that oxygen is going to your brain. So it's a multifaceted thing, and just like many pieces of the puzzle. And when your core is strong, you can engage in other activities using your mind. So lots of benefits. So that's, yes, very, very good statement. Try new things. And what we said earlier is, if you're a very analytical and mathematical type person, venture into the arts. Music, dance, and painting, and photography, different things like that. Vice versa. If you are very engaged in art and in the arts, try those mathematical things. Sudoku. I have to cheat and I still can't do it. That's the answers in the back of the book. But, and back to the arts, the colors. So my husband and I, we have 3 sons, they're all married, and we have 7 wonderful grandchildren, from 9 to 1. And so buying school supplies, there's 64 crayons in the box anymore. When I went to school, there were 8. So, the world is expanding. So, just, if nothing else, read the crayons, the colors on the crayons, It's expanding your horizons. Control your other health issues. We've already talked a little bit about that. Keep your cholesterol where it needs to be. Control your blood pressure, your blood sugar. Watch your diet. Boy, you can just talk about that forever. What diet's going to be good for you this year? Everything in moderation. Kept a lot of us alive for a long time. Alcohol consumption. Red wine is good for you. Red wine will kill you. Everything in moderation. Again, this is big. Seek treatment for depression and anxiety. Seek treatment for anything that keeps you from not feeling well, physically or mentally. Life is short, folks. Make the best of it. We have to knock down those walls of any type of stigma for any type of behavioral health, which dementia falls into. So dementia doesn't care what color you are, what creed you are, what religion you are, how much money you have, how much education you have. We're all at risk if we don't take care of ourselves. And this, execute your advance directives. Again, the nurse that's coming for, the nurse practitioner that's going to do the last presentation in our series, I think is going to talk to you even more about that. So advanced directives are your powers of attorney for your health and your decision makers. Do that now while you can still pick the right decision maker for you. And then you have to trust that decision maker to express your wishes, what you would decide for yourself if you could, not what they want for you, but what you want for you. And guess what? How are they going to know that if you don't have one? So again, I think the third presenter in this series is going to spend a whole lot of time on that, so I'm not today, but I think the most important document that any of us can have is our healthcare power of attorney papers and decide who your decisions are. A lot of people are all worried about their will and who's going to be their administrator or the executor of their will because they're worried about their stuff. Well, your stuff is very important. You know, you've worked hard for it. You probably want to leave a family legacy, but that doesn't happen until you're dead. So you are a whole lot more important than your stuff. So yeah, it's important to get the right person to take care of your stuff when you're dead, but you want to make sure you got the right person that's going to take care of you while you're still here. All right? Okay. I think that's it. Questions? Yes.
Hey, Dan.
Good.
Are there any specific vitamin supplements that one should take?
Oh, what's the new one? Revigen? Is that the CD one? And I'm a nurse. So, what I'm going to tell you is a good multivitamin. A good multivitamin and a well-rounded diet. You can put all kinds of stuff in your body. Things that keep your joints lubricated, you know, that's good because it keeps you moving and exercising so that you can do all the things that help your brain.
Like glucosamine?
Yeah, it's good. But you can, you know, there's a lot right now about CBD, you know, CBD oils and things. Seeing both ends of the spectrum on that. Again, just like any medication, sometimes it's going to work, sometimes it's not. Again, what type of dementia do you have? That type of thing. The Parkinson's dementias really seem to benefit from the CBD oils. But as far as vitamins, I think, and for your age, you know, you're not going to want to take a child's vitamin. You know, most of us have to, well, there's a few that don't, but most of us have to look for the silver, you know, the silver vitamins. But yeah, basically a good multivitamin is going to be your best bet. Yes?
There's so much in the news now that certain foods will do this and foods will do that and become a vegan and all of this stuff. Is there really anything that in food, you said a good diet, and I understand that, but are there foods that will actually either make it worse or help you more?
Well, there are foods linked to high cholesterol, okay? But again, your genetic makeup is going to tell you how your body is going to metabolize that. Again, earlier I referenced my mom that's 93. She probably has bacon 5 mornings a week with not one but 2 eggs. It really just kind of depends. I am a big proponent, again, of fresh rather than processed. So, fresh fruits and vegetables. Frozen is better than cans because of the sodium content. Meats, you know. Red meat will kill you this year, maybe not next year. Again, how are you preparing that? Portion size. You know, it's just like diabetics. That's just because you're diabetic doesn't mean you can't ever have a piece of pie. You can no longer have half of the pie. You know. But again, everything in moderation, but fresh fruit, fresh foods rather than processed foods. And with those processed foods, it's not so much treatment that we are giving people in those acute phases of those illnesses are having side effects that are showing up 10, 15 years later. So, I've saved you from your heart attack, and you've had open heart surgery, and you've been on bypass, and so you're living well for 10, 15, maybe even 20 years. But now I've got memory loss. Because the things that we did to save you then affected your brain. But because you still had a lot of healthy brain, those symptoms weren't showing up. Chemotherapy, not all chemos, but we hear the term now chemo brain. So my mother-in-law just passed away last week from dementia. She had, I know, we did not do an autopsy of her brain, but I know that she had mixed dementia. She had an aortic valve replacement 25 years ago. She had a mechanical valve. I mean, you could hear it in her chest. It was going. She had high cholesterol. She had high blood pressure. And then when she was 70, she was diagnosed with a very rare form of lymphoma. And they told her she was going to be dead in 3 months unless she had this very, very strong chemotherapy. Well, at 70, of course, she opted that she was going to do the chemotherapy. She was so sick for 1 year. And we had 13 pretty good years with her. Really messed up her brain. So, again, when we have chemotherapy and it kills, we know it kills cancer cells, but we know it also kills healthy cells. Other areas in our brain are going to make new cells, and we're going to heal from that. But when we kill brain cells, they're gone. So, that's a couple of different reasons why I think we're seeing more and more of it. And lifestyle. Oh my goodness. We don't eat very well. We drink way too much. We get home from work and we're in front of the TV. Right? So, yeah, it's lifestyle. We don't get up. We don't go. We don't do. More questions. These are great questions.
What, if somebody has a glioma, like brain tumor, what chance do the kids have?
Oh, by the brain tumor?
Yeah.
Small chance of the child getting the brain tumor, same type of brain tumor that, yeah.
Because my daughter-in-law's mother had a brain tumor. I think it was glioma too. And then my husband did, so that makes
On both
the
sides.
Yeah. The kids,
Well, sure, it's a worry, but I think the risk is pretty low for that type.
Yeah.
Any other questions? So, thank you all very much. Very good questions. I've attached my card on there if you want to email me, or if I don't answer my phone, you can always leave me a voicemail. Willowbrook is here in town. It is a memory care facility, so all of our residents that live there have some form of memory loss, many different types of dementia. Like I said, the staff receive upfront training and ongoing training, but things are changing. You know, things are changing. I started nursing school many years ago, and you know, we didn't talk about dementia. We didn't talk about Alzheimer's disease. Everybody had organic brain syndrome. If you were older and you started to act differently, you had organic brain syndrome.
We're going through this opioid
Crisis.
which is, will that help or not to, as it hurt us, let's put it that way.
It's hers.
Yeah.
It's hers.
Apparently so.
We killed a lot of brain cells with overuse of opioids. Yeah. And I'm a firm believer no one should live in pain.
Yeah.
No one should live in pain. But we have opioid abuse.
Yeah.
Kills brain cells.
It's a hot topic right now.
It is. Okay, well, let's give her a round of applause. On behalf of Willowbrook, we'd like to make a donation to the library.
for your section on Alzheimer's and
So we'll put
dementia.
this in our section for you to check out.
Wonderful, thank you very much.
And I was tempted to ask questions about what you should do when you start detecting what dementia brings on. And really our next session, which is next month, we'll be talking exactly about that. And so I hope that you will come back. I hope that you will attend all three series. And if you're unable